Alright, good morning, guys. Today we are going to be talking about the story of Esther, the girl who became queen. Esther is one of my favorite stories in the Bible. I've definitely grown up, but now too. Because I used to think it was just a super cool story about this girl who was literally so beautiful. She saved a bunch of people, and the king thought she was so beautiful, she just became queen. I always thought, that's pretty sweet. That'd be nice. But this story is a lot more than that. Esther is a lot more than just being really beautiful. It's about being brave and about being just willing to do anything for the people that you care about. But also it's about how God uses us to carry out his plans and to save us. He doesn't just always send a bolt of lightning down and strike people to the ground, but he chooses to use us for his glory and in saving our fellow brothers and sisters in Christ. So here's Esther. It takes place in the book of Esther, so, makes sense. At this time, the Jews people, or the Israelites, but now they're Jewish people, were ruled by a king, a Persian king. So they lived in Persia. This was formerly the Promised Land, but during this time, God's people were in a period of disobeying and obeying, so God had let them get taken over by a Persian king in their Promised Land. So we got the Jewish people in the Promised Land. So this king, to basically show off his wealth and status, threw a huge party. Now, I don't know if you guys have been to a lot of cool birthday parties, but this party lasted 180 days, which is about 6 months. That's a long party, if you ask me. Maybe too much, but I don't know. Anyway, so the last 7 days of that party were for all of the capital of Persia, which was called Susa. So all these people in Susa got to party, which is kind of cool. And on the last day, the king summoned for his queen, whose name was Queen Vashti, to come before him, and he kind of just wanted to show her off because she was supposed to be really beautiful. But she said no, because that's kind of a weird thing to request, but either way, she said no. And this was kind of bad because in that time, the queen really couldn't say no to the king about anything. So the king was really mad about that. And he asked his advisors, what do I do? She disobeyed me. What's next? And they told him, yeah, you gotta banish her. So she had to leave Persia. She was kicked out of her palace, kicked out of her land, and just sent away for saying no to the king. So it's pretty tight in there. Eventually, the king was sad because he was alone, because his queen was banished by him, but it's fine. So his advisor said, you need to basically reenact The Bachelor. So I guess he was the original Bachelor. And invite all of the eligible young ladies to your palace. So they all went to the palace to get beautified, get spa treatment, and then they would meet the king. So these girls went through 6 months of oil and myrrh, and then 6 months of ointment and spices, which sounds crazy, because it is crazy to have a month-long spa day. And this is supposed to be cucumbers because they're at the spa. But anyway, one of these girls that ended up at the palace was Esther. Now, Esther was a Jewish girl, but at this point, no one knew that. She was told to keep it a secret, and with good reason. We'll figure out later. So Esther became friends with a lot of the palace people, and so they treated her really nicely. And it's just, good to have people that you're friends with. So after the year-long spa day, these girls would go and meet the king, and he would kind of decide, well, do I want you to be my queen or not? And most of them were a no. They were not queen, so they were sent home. But one girl, our friend Esther, the king fell in love with her, and she became Queen of Persia, or Susa, whichever. So now she is Queen Esther. Now, Esther had an uncle whose name was Mordecai. She grew up with him, and he took care of her because I think she was an orphan. So we got Mordecai here. One day, Mordecai's like hanging out, and he overhears two guys plotting to kill the king, which obviously is not good because, yeah. So Mordecai hears this, and he tells Esther what he hears. And of course, Esther then tells the king, who then has these guys killed for planning to kill him. Kind of ironic, but anyway, Mordecai, a good guy, and we'll learn more about him later. So, the king had a right-hand man whose name was Haman. What a guy, what a name. So, Haman was the king's right-hand man, so he was pretty powerful. And he made a decree that everyone who saw him had to bow to him. But Mordecai, because he was Jewish, refused to bow to him. He said, I only bow to the Lord my God, and you are not him, so I will not bow to you. This made Haman really mad. So mad, in fact, he wanted to kill Mordecai, which seems extreme, but whatever. But he thought, you know what is better than killing one man? I will kill all of his people along with him. So he came up with a plan. He told the king that all these Jewish people were plotting against, or he didn't say Jewish people, he said there's a group of people that don't respect you, don't respect your power, so you need to eliminate them. And the king said, yeah, that seems pretty reasonable. Let's eliminate them. So Haman was going through with his plan. Mordecai found out that all the Jewish people would be eliminated. So he told Esther this. She's also Jewish. So she was very upset because these are her people, and also it's her. And he says, Esther, please help us. You must do something. You must go before the king. But if you went before the king and you did not ask, you would be killed. Unless he took his scepter and raised it to you. So Esther went before the king, knowing that this could happen to her, that she could be killed for going before him without being summoned. But she did it anyway, because she had to save her people. And then, turns out, he was in a good mood. So he raised his scepter to her and said, hey, what's up? What's going on? So she invites him and Haman to a feast. They go to this feast, and Haman's feeling pretty good because he's at a feast with the king and the queen. And the king asks, what do you want? I will give you anything up to half my kingdom. Which is weird. Only half, but it's okay. And she says, you know what? Let's have another feast tomorrow night. They're like, okay. Can't say no to a feast, I guess. So on his way back, Haman's feeling pretty good about himself. Just been at the feast with the king and the queen. So he has a giant gallows made for Mordecai for when the decree goes out that all the Jewish people are to be killed. And he's feeling pretty good. So the next night comes around, and the king is realizing that he forgot to honor Mordecai for all his good work. So he asks Haman, hey, what should I do for this man that I want to honor? And Haman thinks it's for him. So Haman's like, yeah, let's throw this big party. You should have this guy ride on your horse and maybe have him wear your robe. That sounds pretty good. Because Haman's thinking this is for him. So he's like, this is what I would want done for me. And then the king is like, oh, by the way, this is for Mordecai, your mortal enemy. Enemy. And Haman's like, you've got to be kidding me. So the king honors Mordecai, gives him his horse, his robe, parades him through the street, and is like, this man is great, he saved my life. Which made Haman really mad, but just some great irony there. Gotta love it. So the next night, they're at the feast again. Haman's back. He's like, okay, he's recovered at this point. And the king asks Esther again, what would you like? You can have up to half my kingdom. Anything will be yours. And Esther says, please save my people. Please have mercy on them. I am a Jewish, and my people are to be slaughtered. So please save them. And the king's like, what is going on? And she says, your man Haman here signed a decree that all these people are to be killed. And the king's really mad at Haman for tricking him and has him killed and has the order undone so that all the Jewish people will be saved. And Mordecai is honored, and Esther's honored. And that's it. That's the story. So, that is Esther for you.